Stage 3 of the Austin Major Pick'ems, and okay, let's address the elephant in the room. Stage 2 was Garbo, guys. We got FaZe, we got Furia. Heroic and Bait, they were close at least in the 2 and 3, but our 3-0s, Falcons, I kind of wish I'd have gone with my gut and not put them 3-0, because I said I thought they might lose against Bait, but honestly, it wouldn't have mattered, because they didn't make it anyway, so screw it. 3D Max, I had faith in, and they did well, just not quite the 3-0 for them. And then OG and Bet Boom. I think this is a classic believing a bit too much in teams that look good in Stage 1, when, like, deep down, I feel like I knew the players probably weren't good enough. 0-3s as well, just like, out of nowhere, Legacy and Limvision decide they're going to go through. Why not? But let's look at Stage 3 instead, okay? Let's look forward with positivity, and we got to start with Vitality 3-0. I know in the last stage, Falcons screwed us all over, but Vitality could have like 2 players having off days and they could still be okay. They just have that depth of player, right? Whereas for Falcons, when m0NESY plays badly and like that's kind of all you need, right? If Nico plays badly, suddenly like actually the other players can just be a bit mediocre and it's not actually that good, right? So I think Vitality should be fine. Realistically, I also think that opening match against Legacy, like, they just don't lose against underdogs that often, right? Like, we saw them play Legacy already, and to be honest, they weren't playing at their best, and they still 2-0'd them. So that just shows you the caliber of team we expect them to be. Again, it's BO1, so you never know. But this time, I think we do know. I think we do know that Vitality is that good. Okay, the other 3-0 team, who do you consider? MOUZ, definitely a consideration. Normally very good in group stages. However, they're opening games against VP, who were incredibly hot in the previous stage, right? So that's already scary to me in a BO1, I'm going to be honest. Spirit, I think, are the other consideration of the truly elite teams coming into this event. Their opening matches against Pain, I think Pain were pretty good in the previous stage, but I don't think they're as scary as a VP, just in terms of raw firepower, and that's kind of what you're most scared of in a BO1, is just VP starting strong, and I could totally imagine VP just loosening up, because here's the thing about VP. I'll touch on them quickly. They were playing this really slow, drawn-out style, and just the cohesion looked lacking, and it felt like, because of that, all their firepower was limited. At this early stage, they actually loosened up. They actually let the players play aggressive, and Electronic played so much better. The whole team played so much better, and because of that, I think they become a really scary BO1 team. And so, mainly for that reason, even though I think MOUZ are generally maybe a bit better and a bit more consistent in group stages than Spirit, I think Spirit are my other 3-0. I just think the opening matchup is a little easier for them, and their floor is still very high, right? Like, realistically, we know that Donk will play well, and they're a team that doesn't actually need, like, the star power to still be good, right? So, that always gives me a lot of faith in them as a team. So if that's happening, obviously MOUZ are going through in advanced. Just really good all round. Like, they don't have a superstar player, but Torji has been really good as an AWPer. Exertion can sometimes have so much impact. He's a little hit or miss, but that comes with the role and just how aggressively he plays. I think Spinks has just been so reliable on this team. He maybe hasn't hit the heights I was hoping, but he's still been just solid. And yeah, Brolan's actually proven he can be a good in-game leader, so it's all worked out. And that's without talking about Yimpat, who's just quietly very good on this team. Okay. Other ones that I think are kind of no-brainers. The Mongols, again, they're normally just very good in group stages. The team play on this team is great. They often have players that actually can play above their ability under pressure. It's just Senzu and Blitz who really struggle, but guys like 910 and Mzinho, like if the game gets a bit hairy, they can come through with big moments, Mzinho especially. So I'm not too concerned about the Mongols. I just think they play very clean Counter-Strike while also having that good team play. So nothing to worry about there. Okay. Now I think it already starts to get a little more difficult to pick, but I do still think, just especially with BO1s, I think Aurora will be fine. I know they haven't maybe been like completely safe recently. They haven't been in perfect form coming into this, but they play a pretty simple game, and they also go for a lot of these early group ups that are hard to counter, right? Like, I don't see them getting anti-stratted because of that. I think it's quite hard to actually just say, like, oh, okay, we're going to be able to, like, push and make the game uncomfortable for them. Like, no, they're actually fine with that because they've got really good aimers like Xantares on this team. So I do think they'll be fine. I think the format actually could suit them quite nicely here, where you just have players on heaters and it just works for you. So who else are we going with? okay, this is where I think you start to get some opportunities to go different. Because these 5, I think you have to have going through. Maybe you could put someone else in the 3-0. You could even think about putting VP in the 3-0. If you think that there's a decent chance one of these teams comes in cold and gets upset, I wouldn't hate that for what it's worth. But I look at Na'Vi. I think this format is very scary for Na'Vi. Not only have they looked shaky recently and they haven't been winning rounds based on tactical play or team play, but also their opening matchup against Nemiga, like, in theory, I think Nemiga are one of the weakest teams here, but I actually think playing them in a BO1 is quite bad for Na'Vi in the opening BO1, because Nemiga are a fairly skilled team. And we've seen that they like the trash talk, and they're on, you know, decent form right now. And the thing that terrifies me about Na'Vi is I can just see a world where they get off to a slow start just with their individuals, right? This team doesn't have crazy firepower, guys. It really doesn't. Like, recently, Bit hasn't even been, like, all that exceptional for this team. They don't really have a clear standout. Like, I think someone could pug against this team and, like, beat them out. And that scares me. Like, I could see them going down 0-1, maybe even 0-2 early. And having that in mind already concerns me. In theory, the players are there. But I just don't think we've seen it lately, right? I think the players are good enough as long as the rest of the team is doing well. But we haven't seen that. G2, kind of a similar story, except I have even less faith because I don't think the players on the whole are really there anymore. Like, Hades is kind of a subpar, but he's okay at this level, I would say. Snack's obviously not great. And then Heavy God has been good, but a little inconsistent at times. I think he's been hitting form recently. But it's like, if that's your high-end firepower, I'm kind of scared for you, especially when Hunter has also been lately. Liquid, I think Liquid have been like a bit hard done by a lot of people. I think a lot of people were saying Liquid have been very disappointing. And IEM Dallas, for example, yes, they came 9th to 12th, but they only lost against the Maus, who we know are very good, and then Aurora. And, you know, the Maus loss was maybe fairly one-sided. The Aurora loss was a little closer, but, like, I don't hold that against them. The scary thing for Liquid is obviously that NAF has been just pretty bad lately. Like, the rest of the team, I think, is decent enough, and, like, I don't really have problems with, right? Like, I think Ultimate's decent as an AWPer. He's okay for this level. I think that Twists has obviously been very good. Nerds, in general, I think he's really good, but he hasn't been at his best lately. I think that will turn around. And then I still rate Shuey as an in-game leader, and I think he's a good in-game leader at just coming in and normally making the team instantly do well. That hasn't quite happened here, but I think that with a little bit of extra time that he's had leading up to this event, I do have a lot of faith in Shuey. Legacy, listen, they've been on a heater. I like a lot of the things they're doing. Are the players good enough? That's the question for me, right? VP, they've just been so hot lately, man. They've just been so hot. I think I go with VP. I think I do. I just think they look like they have loosened things up. They look like they're just suddenly, like, saying, screw it. The way we've been playing has sucked. It's not been working. Let's just switch things up, right? Let's just actually play a little looser, play a little more aggressive. I don't think they had the hardest competition, but I just think that they'll be able to squeak through here. The only scary thing is, once they face adversity, we have not seen what happens to this team, because they kind of just rolled over their first 2 opponents and then played a close one against Pain. But I do think they'll have enough. Pain, I think you could consider. I actually think they looked pretty damn good. And this roster, in theory, on paper, looks really good, actually. I think they've got a lot of the skilled South American players on this roster. And I like the calling on this team. 3D Max, seems like they switched up their game a bit. They weren't going for all the same, like, execute-heavy rounds. I think they look pretty good, but they feel to me more like a maybe 2-3 team. I don't know if they've quite got the experience to really get it over the line, which I count for a lot here. Furia, they do have the experience. I think they looked all right in the previous stage. Again, they kind of feel like a 2-3 team to me. FaZe is the interesting one, right? They're all the way down here because they didn't actually qualify with that good of a placement. But I just do think that if they can drag the game into the deep waters, they will do enough to make the playoffs. I really do think that. And I think we have definitely seen players feel the pressure, and you kind of saw it against MIBR. Like, they were able to drag it through. Frozen is still fantastic. Simple, he has flashes where you see his brilliance, and then he has moments where you're like, dude, you look a little lost. Okay, that's a little concerning. And I do think Rain has been like a little shaky at times. Elige, yeah, he's been like fairly good, but the roles are a little weird. But I still think like as long as they get games close, which I think they will, I think they do enough to make it here. It will probably be in like a 2-2 game again. And I also do think the early BO1s, I think it could actually help them. Because if you think about it, when you've got a stand-in and you haven't had much practice time, I think it's a lot easier to stay focused just for one map than it is for longer term. Because all these other teams will have their protocols built up, and they won't have to be thinking every round, like, exactly what is my teammate going to do? What is Simple going to do, right? Whereas for FaZe, not really the case. So I actually think a BO1 like helps this team because it's easier for them to stay mentally there for the whole of it, right? And then we got one more option, okay? I'm telling you, man. Low-key, I could see Na'Vi like going 0-3 somehow. And the same with G2. Like, I just have the vibes that we've seen so much talent and skill from other teams at the early stages that could happen. I think I'm between Liquid and Pain. I have faith in Liquid, I do. I think what I've seen is that a lot of teams are coming together, and even if I don't think Liquid have looked like the best in the past, on paper this roster looks good. And I think you have to trust that, right? Because I said the same about Pain in the previous stage, who are not in good form, and they have come together for the major. I think Liquid will do the same. I really do. I think Shuei's been there long enough. I think it will happen. 0-3s are hard, okay? 0-3s are hard. Because the annoying thing is, I want to put Namiga 0-3. I do. I think Lin Vision can anti-strat a team and beat them. I think Pain looked pretty good in the previous stage. I think a lot of these teams have upsides. The thing is, if Namiga weren't playing Na'Vi in the opening matchup, I probably would put them 0-3. Because I think they have some firepower, sure, but like, I don't think they do anything all that well to cause an upset compared to some of these other teams, right? Like, if you think of a best-of-1 upset from Lin Vision, I think they anti-stratted the hell out of Falcons and just look good in general, right? For Legacy, I think they play some pretty fundamentally good CS. And if you believe in Na'Vi, I don't think you should put... I think you should put Namiga 0-3, but I think my gut tells me Namiga are going to win that BO1. It just tells me that they are. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And if that's the case, I want to trust my gut, because last time my gut told me that Bait would beat Falcons here, and it happened. So if my gut tells me Namiga are going to beat Na'Vi, I'm not putting them 0-3. It leaves me with tough choices, though. I think to start with, dude, I think... it sucks, but I think I'm putting Lin Vision. They could easily anti-strat a team, but I also feel like... They've had to grind this like so long now that I think it's just going to be harder for them to do that. Right? I think like momentum from stage 1 to stage 2 can carry over. I think into stage 3, you might just start to get like a little exhausted. And I also think the day off might not help them. Like, it might make it start to feel a little real for them that, like, holy shit, we could maybe make the playoffs at the major. And I just think that could cost them. I think the other choice for me is between Legacy, as I said, Namiga, but I don't think I can put them. Maybe Furia, honestly. I don't think they've been, like, great. But I think the experience factor is there for some of these other teams. I think I have to go Legacy, which sucks because, by the way, this is the exact 0-3s I did in the previous stage, right? But I just think this stage is more stacked. I think if you're ballsy, by the way, okay, and what I almost wish I would do is put, like, Na'Vi 0-3 or, like, G2 0-3. Because I just get the feeling one of these guys is going to struggle at the start and be in that 0-2 bracket. I really do. But this is what I'm going with. I think fairly standard for the most part, but I think you got to do it, okay? I know there's been a lot of upsets so far. I think this stage should be okay. I think we should be okay. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you next time.